welcome back to the new episode of Teleclass. It's me Santosh from Imagine School. So before we go to this lesson, please go to this link and mark yourself as present. Today's session, we are going to discuss about the market equilibrium. At the end of this session, you should be able to explain what is market price and what is market quantity and how the changes in demand and supply will affect the market price and quantity. So before we move on to this market price, I want to know something about the lessons we discussed the previous class. That is very important, law of demand and law of supply. So the law of demand says that as price increases, the quantity demanded will decrease, and price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. But the law of supply says that as price increases, the quantity supply will increase, and price decreases, the quantity supply will decrease. Even if the demand and supply moves opposite directions, so at one place they will meet. This demand and supply will meet. That point is called equilibrium point, which means market equilibrium is where the demand and supply are equal. So how do we define the market price or equilibrium price? Equilibrium price is the price where demand and supply are equal. So look at this definition. Equilibrium price or the market price is the price at which the quantity supplied is equal to the quantity demanded. So here I am going to mark this law of demand and law of supply here. So look at this table. So prices are going down from 25, 20, 15, 10 and 5. So as price increases, the quantity demanded will decrease, and price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. Look at the table here. When the price is 25, the quantity demanded is 100, and price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase 200, 300, 400 and 500. So here I had drawn this table based on the law of demand. As price decreases, the quantity demanded increasing. But law of supply says that as price decreases, the quantity supply will decrease. Look at this. When the price is 25, quantity supply is 500, and price goes down 20. So here supply also will goes down. See here, this here also you can see that as price decreases, the quantity supply also decreasing. But at one point you can see the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Only the one place you can see that the quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. Just look at this table. Here this 300, 300 quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. This is called market equilibrium. Market equilibrium is the point where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. And at this point, what is the existing price? That is called equilibrium price. So at this point, what is the price here? 15. So 15 we can say that equilibrium price or the market price. So that is the definition here, says that equilibrium price or market price is the price at which the quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. So at this price, what is a quantity? That quantity is called equilibrium quantity. So here we can say that equilibrium quantity is 300 and equilibrium price is 15. So next I'm going to plot these points on a graph. Let's see. So here, look at this graph. So already I plotted that prices on y-axis and quantity demanded on x-axis. So keep it in mind, in order to obtain the supply curve or demand curve, we have to plot the prices on y-axis, that is a vertical axis, and the quantity demanded or supplied on x-axis, that is horizontal axis. Then I'm going to draw the demand curve based on this information. When the price is 25, quantity demand is 100. So 100, price decreasing, quantity increasing. So when I join these points, we will get the demand curve. So this is demand curve. And same way, if I mark this quantity supplied and price, so we will get the supply curve. So look at this, when the price is 25, 500. So here we can mark the quantity supplied 500. And when the price is 20, 400. And when the 15, 300, same place. And 10, 400. Sorry, 200. And 5 means 100. So I'm joining these points, then we will get supply curve. This is supply curve and this is demand curve. So look at the point where demand curve and supply curve intersect. So this is the point where demand and supply curve intersect. This is called equilibrium point. And at this point, look at the price. So it is 15, same like here. And what's the equilibrium quantity? Here you can see 300. So here, equilibrium price is 15. Let's see what will happen to this market equilibrium when the price goes up or down. Let's say the price goes up from 15 to 20. When the price goes up to 20, the quantity demanded increased from 100 to 200. But the quantity supplied decreased from 500 to 400. So look at this. Price is here. So how do we know that? So when the price is 20, increase to 20, so quantity demanded is 200. And when it is quantity supply means we have to go and touch supply curve, then see, look at this, quantity supplied is 400. So this, look at this area. Here demand, supply exceeds the demand. That means the supply is more than demand. Supply is more than demand. If the supply is more than demand, that will lead to surplus. That situation can be described as surplus. So if there is a surplus of product in the market, or there are many unsold goods in the market, as a producer, what you will do? What do you do if there is an excess supply or surplus? Yes, what do you do? Yeah, exactly. As a producer, we will reduce the prices. So in order to get rid of this surplus, we, as a producer, we will reduce the prices. So the prices will go slowly, will go down and will reach to equilibrium again 15. So again the price reached to equilibrium. So now what happened? At this point, market cleared. That means excess supply cleared. There is no surplus or no shortage. So now the market is in equilibrium. So what happened there? If the price goes up, it will create a surplus. So in order to get rid of this surplus, producers will reduce the prices. So slowly the prices will move towards the equilibrium price. So now again back to equilibrium. So if the price is too high, it will have a tendency to move towards the equilibrium. Suppose the price went down. Price went down to 10. Then what will happen? At this point, quantity supplied is 200 and quantity demanded is 400. So at this point, demand exceeds supply. Demand is more than supply. If the demand exceeds the supply, that situation can be described as shortage. So here this is this area surplus, and this area we can say that shortage. Shortage means, what's the meaning of shortage? Shortage is the situation of demand exceeds the supply. Surplus is the situation of supply exceeds the demand. And if there is a shortage, so the producers know that the consumers are running for the product. So what they will do? They will try to increase the price. So producers know even if price increases, the consumers will buy since there is a shortage. So prices will start to move up. Again it will go to 15. So here temporarily, if the price goes up or down, this equilibrium price will have a tendency to move towards the equilibrium always. So that's the difference between surplus and shortage. So once again, surplus means the aggregate supply or the supply quantity supply exceeds the quantity demanded, and shortage means the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supply. So this is the information about the market equilibrium and market quantity and equilibrium price. So equilibrium price is the price where demand and supply are equal, and equilibrium quantity is the quantity at that equilibrium point. Next we have to move what will happen to this market price or equilibrium price if there is changes in demand and supply. What will happen to the market price or equilibrium price if there is a change in demand and supply? So before that, I want to go for a break, but you will stay tuned. Have a glance at these slides. So equilibrium price here, that this table shows that as price increases, the quantity demanded decreasing and the quantity supplied increasing. At 350, the quantity supplied and demanded are equal. So at that point, here you can see the 12. So this 12 is called equilibrium price. And what is the equilibrium quantity here? Yes, exactly, 350. So 350 is the equilibrium quantity and the 12 is the equilibrium price. And if the price, so here look at this diagram. So when we plot these points on this graph, we will get the demand curve. DD is the demand curve and SS is the supply curve. And at the point E, the both demand and supply curve intersects. So at that point, what's the price here? 12. So that 12 is called equilibrium price and 350 is the equilibrium quantity. And look at this. Suppose when the price goes down, if the price goes down to 8, so at that point the quantity supplied is 200 and quantity demanded is 500, means quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied. So there is 300 shortage. Demand exceeds the supply. 300 shortage. So then what will happen? So the producers will charge higher prices since there is a shortage of product. So price slowly will goes up and will reach 12. So keep in mind, if there is a shortage or if the price goes below the equilibrium, it tends to move up. That means the price tends to move up to the equilibrium. And if the price goes up to 16, if the price goes up to 16, what is happening there? Look at this. At this price, quantity demanded is 200 and the quantity supplied is 550. So here you can 530. So here you can see that the supply or the quantity supply exceeds the quantity demanded. So there is a surplus. So already we discussed, already we explained, if there is a surplus, in order to get rid of this surplus, the producers will reduce the price. So the prices go down to 12 again. So if the equilibrium price or if the price goes up, it will have a tendency to go down. So this is a shortage and surplus. Here it's actually, we will explain, surplus is a quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, and if there is a surplus, the prices tend to fall. And if there is a shortage, which means the quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, so the prices tends to rise. Then next, the important part is what will happen to this market price or the equilibrium price if there is a change in demand and change in supply. If there is a change in demand and change in supply, what will happen to the market price? So already we discussed about change in demand and change in supply. So those ideas we are going to bring into this equilibrium price diagram. Let's see what will happen. So here I am going to draw demand curve. So D is the demand curve. And don't forget, labeling is very important. So here price and here quantity. And supply curve here S is the supply curve. So this is the point where demand and supply are equal. So at this point we can mark E. E means equilibrium point. And at this point, what is the price? How to find out the price? So just from this point you can draw towards this y-axis. So here you will get a price. So this price is called equilibrium price. And how do you find out the equilibrium quantity? Just go to this quantity side. So here we will get equilibrium quantity. So according to this diagram, the P is the equilibrium price and Q is the equilibrium quantity. So here I am going to explain what will happen to this equilibrium price if there is increase in demand, effect of increase in demand. what will happen to this market price if there is an increase in demand? So keep it in mind, change in price is not a factor here. Here, because of the non-price factors, the demand and supply changing. So here the change in price never shifts the demand and supply curve. So increase in demand means what will happen? Already we discussed, demand curve will shift to right. Demand curve will shift to right side, means when you face the demand curve, so your right hand side, so this the curve will shift to right hand side, that is an increase in demand. So demand curve shift to right here. See, now we have new demand curve D1, D1. And now where is the new equilibrium point? So new equilibrium point is where the new demand curve intersects supply. So here it is, this is the new point where demand curve and supply curve intersect. So here I am marking E1. So at this point, what is the price? So just draw towards this here P1. So what happened to the equilibrium price or the market price due to this change? Equilibrium price increased. And what happened to the market quantity? How do we find out? So just draw towards this x-axis. So here Q1. So this diagram will exactly says what happened to the new market price if there is a change in demand or supply. So here, due to this increase in demand, the market price or the equilibrium price increased and market quantity also increased. So this is the effect of increase in demand on market price. And next, what will happen to the market price if there is a decrease in demand? Very simple, the same way the demand curve will shift to left. Only the difference is demand curve will shift to left. So decrease in demand, effect of decrease in demand. Decrease in demand means demand curve will shift to left, means left side. That means towards your left hand. So when I face this demand curve, this is a left side. So demand curve will shift to left side. So new demand curve, this is a new demand curve. And where is the new equilibrium point? Here or here? Where? Yes, exactly here. So this is the new equilibrium point E1. So at this point, look at this. What is the price? Price goes down to P1 and quantity decreased. Just opposite of the previous diagram. So what is the effect of decrease in demand on market price? If there is a decrease in demand, the market price will go down and market quantity also will go down. So these are the effect of change in demand and change in demand on equilibrium price. Change in demand means increase in demand and decrease in demand on market price. And next we are moving on to the market price. What will happen if there is a change in supply? Change in supply. So look here how the change in supply will affect the market price. So change in supply can be an increase in supply or decrease in supply. So look at the effect of increase in supply on market price. So increase in supply means what will happen? The supply curve will shift to right. So for here, see, look at this. Supply curve shift to right. And we are getting new equilibrium point here, that is, this is a new supply curve, S1, S1. So here is a new equilibrium point, E1. And equilibrium quantity and price, what happened? Here market price decreased to P1 and market quantity increased to Q1. So this is the effect of increase in supply on market price. So what happened to the market price if there is an increase in demand? If there is an increase in demand, market price will decrease and the market quantity will increase. And next, what will happen to the market price if there is a decrease in supply? So supply curve will shift to left. So when you face the supply curve, left side towards the left hand side. So the supply curve will shift to this direction. So look at this. Now, this is a decrease in supply, and we are getting new equilibrium point here E1, and what happened to the market price? Let us see, market price increased to P1 and market quantity decreased to Q1. So, what is the effect of decrease in supply on market price? If there is a decrease in supply, the market price will increase and market quantity will decrease. It is very simple to understand what will happen to this market price. That means this exactly this diagram will tell you what is happening to the market price and market quantity if there is a change in demand and change in supply. So, it is the time to wind up. We will be back with the continuation of this topic next class. Till then, bye.